Thank you everybody for coming for the rehearsal party for Deretz Bat Mitzvah. My Siyum HaShas. It's really, really amazing and special to be doing this and with good friends, and obviously with Corona, it's a little bit of a smaller party than whatever, but this is perfect. And I really appreciate everybody coming, and because of Corona, everybody's around, and it's amazing to do a Siyum at 10 o'clock on a work day, and everybody can basically come. We live in Israel and work crazy whatever hours, and it's a big bracha for all of us, and I really appreciate everybody coming, so thank you very much. The Gemara in Brachos, Daf Lamed Hey, says a famous machlokas between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai about the amount of learning you're supposed to be doing. Rabbi Shmuel says that you're supposed to make a learning and an earning, and you're supposed to work, and you're supposed to do all this stuff, and if you have time, you learn as well. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says no, you should just learn all day, and like the man, Hashem will take care of you, and don't worry about it. Just sit and learn in Kola all day. There's a problem with this Gemara because the Gemara Menachos in Daf Tzadik Tes starts by talking about the Lechem HaPanim. So we know by the Lechem HaPanim, it says it has to be on the Mizbeach Tamid, has to be consistently on the Mizbeach. Rabbi Yossi says you have to always have their, if you take out the old one, you have to put the new one right away. You can never have any break. It always has to be bread there, always, consistently. The problem is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, from that limud, Rabbi Yossi also, Rabbi Yossi says that in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Tamid by the Lechem HaPanim, you have to have it there in the morning and at night. If you take out the old bread and you have the new bread's not going to be ready till the evening, that's fine if there's a little break in between, as long as you have one in there in the morning and you have one there at night. Okay, that's what he says. If you have morning and night, you have a break in the middle. Along the same line, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the same Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, you have the same thing that by Talmud Torah, to have Tamid, to have consistency in Talmud Torah, you can say Shema in the morning, you can say Shema at night, you have a long break in the middle, and you're fine. So understand, it's the same Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says you have to learn all day, you can't have any breaks. And then here he says, it's enough to do Shema in the morning and Shema in the evening. So what's going on? So I was thinking, to answer this, there's a famous, I think, Hakdama of the Ein Yaakov, or some Perush on Ein Yaakov. Nobody really knows where the source is, but everybody quotes it. That there's a machlokas, so what's the most famous pasuk in the Torah, V'ahavta l'reich kamocha, all these other psukim. And in the end, they paskin, Esakevas achad taseh b'boker, Esakevas hasheni taseh ben arbaim. That by the korban tamid, you have to have in the morning a korban and in the afternoon. That's the most important pasuk in all the Torah. Just have consistently every day, morning tamid, afternoon tamid. So I was thinking along the same line is, again, what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is, think about the context of the Gemara there, he's talking about Tamid. He's talking about the Lechem HaPanim. Just like the Lechem HaPanim, you can fulfill the mitzvah of Tamid, consistency with morning, the bread there in the morning and the bread there at night. So too with Torah learning, obviously you have to learn as much as you can, but you also have an aspect of just a daily learning, a Tamid. You have to have a daily learning. You have to have once, twice a day, you fulfill the mitzvah of, in that aspect of Tamid, which is also important, again, to be the most important puzzle. So I think that's the idea, maybe, by Daf Yomi. Why is Daf Yomi such a great thing? Yes, it's not the most in-depth learning with the Rishonim, and of course, that is an ideal situation. You sit and do that all day. But, you have to also have Tamid. You have to have, that aspect every day, and that's what the beauty, I think, that's why I was drawn to Daf Yomi, because it gives you that tamid, that aspect that he says is so important to have every day, a learning. You always have to, there's no days off. And along the same lines, I've said this before, but it's one of my favorite of our Torahs, I'll repeat it. We know the Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Peches, says that Hashem lifted the, Kaflem Har Kigigis, that Hashem, when they got the Torah, he lifted the mountain above their head like a barrel, and he said, if you accept the Torah, if not, Sham Tiek Raskan, over there will be your barrel. So, Tzvi, my old chavrusa, told me this from Rav J.J. Schachter, that he asked two questions. He says, understand, if you lift a barrel over somebody's head, hollow. You drop it on them, they're not going to die. They'll suffocate. They'll die eventually, but it's not an immediate death. And also, why does it say if you accept the Torah, great? If not, sham tiek rosko, there will be your burial. It should say kan or po, whatever. Here will be your burial. So he answers that Hashem was basically telling the Jewish people, look, there's going to be a lot of nations that are going to come. The Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians. Every nation's going to have this big moment for a couple hundred years. And then eventually, they'll die out 200, 300, 400 years. A long, slow death, like suffocating, It's not an immediate death. You suffocate, it takes you a while. If you don't accept the Torah, you're going to live like that. And Sham Tiv Rasim, over there, eventually, it'll be your burial. But if you accept the Torah now, you'll be eternal. And I think that the Torah learning and the consistency the Jews have had all these years has really kept us going for so many years. We really outlasted all the other nations. And it's close that we should continue doing that. So just a little background about how I started Daf Yomi. I'm probably the first person in the history of mankind to make a Siyum HaShas and Daf Tzadi Gimel on the bet of Gemara Shabbos. This was a random. Basically 7.5 years ago, a little over. I finished in June, so it's been a time we got a Siyum together. I had actually Aaron Friedman over for Shabbos. He was checking out Efrat. He eventually moved here, and he had a Daf Yomi, and we started talking about it, and I realized, you could do it on your own with arts or whatever. I was, I realized maybe I should just, start doing it. And Jen was always encouraging me, you should just do Daf Yomi. It's a great way. It speaks to your language about like the consistency and whatever. And it was a great idea. So thank you obviously to Jen in general for her encouragement and support. Basically every single day pretty much when I'm in shul and she's like, when are you gonna come home? And I'm like 10, 15 more minutes. I'm doing Daf Yomi. It's like so she feels it every day, and I appreciate that. So thank you. And also just when I was starting, when I got married, actually, like a good father and mother-in-law, my in-laws offered me to buy me a Shas, a Chassan Shas. I said at the time I didn't have the space. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want it, whatever. And then I started Daf Yomi a few years later, and I needed. I was borrowing, I think, Jeremy's art scroll, and every time I said, you know what? I just need my own. I need my own art scroll Shas, and my father-in-law ended up, went to the Weiss Farm sale and got it. So thank you very much for your support on that. And I'm probably the first person in the history of mankind to learn every daf. I'm probably the first person in mankind to learn every daf of their custom Shas. So usually it sits on the shelf and gathers dust. So I actually learn every single page. So thank you for your support on that. And in Jim. And mine. So the last piece of Gemara before the next Mishnah on Tzadi Gimel Mevad says, I'll make it near. Tani Tana Kameder of Nachman, Shnaim Shotzi Kana Shalgar Di Turim. So we're talking about a weaver's reed, that's what our scroll says. If two people carry it out, so there's a machlokas. If you're patur, Rabbi Shimon says you're chayav. If two people carry something, they're not that you need two people to carry. Are they chayav or patur? Because it's technically the normal way you need two people. But on the other hand, really you should only be chayav if you're. The other opinion says no, you should only chayav if you're carrying one person carries. So Klape Laya, how is this possible? Rabbi Shimon said the opposite before. So let's switch the shitos. The first opinion says you're chayav, and Rabbi Shimon says you're patur for carrying it out. Sali Klak Mesach Shabbos. Hadrlach Mesach Shabbos for Talmud Bavli. Hadr Chalan. Deichlach Mesach Shabbos for Talmud Bavli. Dak Chalan. Lo nish seminach Mesach Shabbos for Talmud Bavli. V'nosh seminan. Lo ba'amadim. Lo ba'amadasi. Hadrlach Mesach Shabbos for Talmud Bavli. Hadr Chalan. Deichlach Mesach Shabbos for Talmud Bavli. Dak Chalan. Lo nish seminach Mesach Shabbos for Talmud Bavli. Lo nish seminan. Lo ba'amadim. Lo ba'amadasi. Hadrlach Mesach Shabbos for Talmud Bavli. Hadr Chalan. Daitanach Mesach Shabbos for Talmud Bavli. Dak Chalan. Lo nish seminach Mesach Shabbos for Talmud Bavli. Lo nish seminan. Lo ba'amadim. Lo ba'amadasi. Yiratzum v'fenech hanal leheinu le'vosenu. Shetiye saras v'umanasenu. V'olam hazeh usdiye umanu l'olam haba. Chani bar papa. Rami bar papa. Nachum bar papa. Achai bar papa. Avamari bar papa. Rafim bar papa. Rakish bar papa. Surcha bar papa. Ada bar papa. Duaru bar papa. Hareb nana leheinu es jibrei saras v'finu fi fios amcha be'Yisrael v'niyeh Gulana Nachman Tzetzenu Tzei Kabe Israel Kloni Odei Shemecha Lam Zay Sorzach Lishma Moivai Zachamini Mitzvazach Kilu Lam Hili Yidabi Sami Mifukach Laman Lo Evosh Lolam Los Ashkap Bikudacha Kibam Kisani Baruch Atah Adonai Bnei Kuchacha Meina Meina Mein Tzal Ve'ed Modim Anachnu Lechanecha Na'al Lahinu Le'ahev Asinu Shem Tachalkenu B'Yoshev Beis Medrash V'lo Sam Tachalkenu B'Yoshev Kronos Shana Mashkumim V'Hem Mashkumim Ana Mashkumim L'Divrei Sarva Ana V'Hem Mashkumim L'Divrei B'Tenim Ana Me'el V'Hem Amelin Ana Me'el Me'kam Nisachar V'Hem Amelin V'Einem Me'kam Nisachar Ana Ratzim V'Hem Ratzim Ana Ratzim V'Chai Elam Abba V'Hem Ratzim V'Ver Shach V'Shnemar V'Ata Elohim Toridein L'Ver Shach V'Sanshei Damim Yirma Lo Yaktzim V'Hem V'Neach Tavah Yiratzom L'Fenecha Na Elohai Kishem Shalatain Esayim V'Sak Shabbos V'Tam Abadli Kain Tazrin Etzatz V'Mesach V'Sfar Machir N'Saimam V'Lmon V'Lamed Lishmar V'Lasos L'Chaim Es Kol Divrei Samatar Zach V'Yavad Zchus Kol Tanai V'Amoraim Samidei Chachami Yamod Li Zari Shlomo Samosh Tator Mfi Zari V'Zer Zari Adalam Eskayim Bi V'Salecha V'Tanche Osak Shakpa V'Sishmor Alecha V'Kitos V'Hi Sifsimchecha Ki V'Yirbu Yamecha V'Yosifu L'Chashmas Chaim Orch Nevim B'Bina Usmola Osha V'Chavod Anai Oz Lamoitin Anai V'Rech Samo Shalom Yiskad Yiskad Shmer Abba Nalmad Verchos Di Hu Asil Yiskadta L'Chaya Meisaya La Saka Yeshon L'Chaya Alma Lumine De Karta Dushlem Ushachlala Hechala V'Gava L'Makar Palchana Nukra Min Aral Asava Palchana Di Shmaya L'Asrei Mifku Shabrich L'Makusei V'Karei V'Chayachon V'Elchon Achayracho B'Yisrael V'Agalav Izman Chariv V'Mru Amen Eish Mei Rabba Marach Alam L'Mei Al-Mayai Yisbrak Mishtabak Yisbar V'Sram Yisasei Yisrael V'Salev Yisalash V'Kushav V'Richu V'Elam V'Kur V'Chasav V'Shirasat V'Chasav V'Nechasah V'Ram Yamav V'Mru Amen Yisrael V'Al Rabbana V'Al Talmideho V'Al Kol Talmidei Talmideho V'Al Koman D'Askim V'Araisa V'Fi V'Asra Adem V'Di V'Chol Asar V'Asar Yi L'Hon V'Lachon Shlomo Rabba V'China V'Chista Rachamin V'Chayin Arichin V'Zana Rivichei V'Korkana Min Kadam Abahon Di V'Shmaya V'Arav V'Mru Amen Yesh Shalom Rabba V'Mishmai V'Chaim Tovim Alein V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Mru Amen Osei Shalom Ramam V'Yasah Shalom Alein V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Mru Amen Sudas Mitzvah, you'll have to have bread. Before we do, maybe we could just do a quick picture to make sure I get a memory of whoever's here. Gather around, please. Social distancing, of course. But as best as we can.